We are diving back into the Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively feud. A judge just ruled that if the PR battle between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively continues, and it is at risk of prejudicing the jury, they're going to move up the date of the trial much sooner than March 2026. But that is unlikely to happen anytime soon, given that Justin Baldoni just launched a website for everyone to access all of the information about their lawsuit. All of their text communications, emails, everything dating back to as early as January of 2019 is now accessible to the public on this website. It's the lawsuitinfo.com. You can go to it right now if you want to and go to the entire timeline of events. And they just made this accessible to all of the internet sleuths. And what I find most interesting about this is that Justin Baldoni actually made amendments to his defamation lawsuit against Blake based on findings of just random social media users. He is using the findings of TikTokers, essentially, to pile up more and more incriminating evidence against Blake Lively. That includes the metadata that was found in images from the New York Times lawsuit, which shows that they were preparing it. Thank you. I like this especially because I am someone who really likes my suitcase. Like, I genuinely do.
You have one that you really enjoy?
I really do, yes. So he included information about the New York Times article. They included images in the article dated well before Blake Lively ever filed her complaint against Justin Baldoni, which basically proves that Blake Lively's team was in cahoots with the journalist that authored the piece, Megan Twohey.
In the chat, I just want to point out, somebody says, why didn't they request a gag order? They did.
They
and
did.
That gag order was denied.
Yes, it was, as it should have been. And they also include a new amendment to Justin Baldoni's suit that mentions Ryan Reynolds' character in Deadpool and Wolverine, Nice Pool, which is not present in any Marvel comics. It was entirely based on Justin Baldoni, and it was invented to mock him in the movie. He's in fact violently killed in the movie in front of a florist shop by Lady Pool, played by Blake Lively. It really couldn't have gotten more obvious than that, but people online pointed this out to Justin Baldoni and his team, so they decided to include that also in his lawsuit. So that's included on this website.
I saw people saying, like, why is he going so hard at her? He has to. Like, she has twice the power and reach that he does. He had to strike early, strike often.
You mentioned to me that he's financially desperate because of the amount of money that he's spending on these legal fees.
It's not helping. I mean, other opportunities are falling through for him now.
Right.
Yeah, it says, they point that out here. Lost 3 jobs and millions of dollars because of this. Now we're not going to get... Not the Pac-Man movie!
Oh, the humanity. I was really...
the hell am I going to do now? Frogger?
I had my heart set on that.
Frogger movie?
Frogger movie would be better than a Pac-Man movie.
Number crunchers.
Yeah. Tetris is already taken.
Sorry, number munchers.
But yeah, the new website currently has 2 links on it. It has one to the amended complaint filed by Justin Baldoni and his studio against Blake and Ryan Reynolds. And the other link shows a timeline of relevant events in the case. And there were some highlights that I wanted to go through. This is like over 100 pages long, so we're not going to go through all the details. But one that I found especially interesting is a text conversation that went on between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively regarding the iconic rooftop scene. And I actually just watched that scene for the first time this morning, and I was just flabbergasted by how bad it was. Knowing that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds were the ones who wrote it, it's all adding up for me. The dialogue is just awful. You should go watch it for yourself if you haven't. just to see the irony in how hard Blake Lively fought for this part of the script to be included in the final cut. But here in this text exchange, Blake Lively has a really strange way of bringing Justin Baldoni over to her side on her version of the rooftop scene. And it's funny because Justin Baldoni was getting roasted for seeming flirty to Blake Lively in his texts and his voice memos, but this is really on another level that could be interpreted as inappropriate and flirty. So here's what Blake Lively said. I can send you my pass at the roof or just read with you when we get together next week. Let me know what you prefer, smiley face. If you knew me in person longer, you'd have a sense of how flirty and yummy the ball busting would play. It's my love language, spicy and playfully bold, never with teeth, and him serving it back to her is just as important. You don't usually see both the man and the woman with such agency and humor. Anyway, I can act it out for you next week to make sure it comes through.
I'm literally picturing him getting like really uncomfortable as he's reading this.
Or I can send now, let me know what you prefer, XX. And then the first thing Justin Baldoni says in response to this is a very clear rejection, a subdued rejection, but a clear one at that. It says, you know, hey, I'm a married man. I'm not interested, babe. He said, sorry, I was just crying my eyes out as my kids and family just left for another 5 weeks, and it was a shit show. He's a family man. Leave him alone, Blake. You wench. Okay, there was another detail.
Don't forget also that, like, he tried to get her to go with him to see the intimacy coordinator so they could coordinate all of this stuff. And she declined to go, and he had to go get notes and then pass those notes on to her. Remember, all of this started because of sexual harassment claims.
Right. So Blake Lively is alleging sexual harassment from Justin Baldoni, and she's also alleging that he was adding physical contact and adding sexual lines into the movie improvisation style. Like, he was allegedly touching her in ways that he wasn't permitted to touch her. And she claims that it was Justin Baldoni's choice not to have an intimacy coordinator present. However, she refused to even show up to meetings with this intimacy coordinator that Baldoni hired. So in these notes, released through his website, there is included X-rated language like, quote, goes down on her, orgasm, foreplay, and the clit test. But Justin points out all of that came directly from the intimacy coordinator during their meeting.
It would be quite bold of him to come up with those terms.
So they show a screenshot from the timeline during April 21st, 2023. Baldoni meets with the intimacy coordinator to discuss how to shoot the sex scenes. It was important to him that the intimacy coordinator be a woman, because he's a male feminist, to help craft sex scenes that would speak to the book's female audience.
Well, I think he said female gaze.
Yes, to be written from the female gaze. His notes from this meeting are pictured below and were later shared with Blake Lively during one of their script meetings at her apartment in New York. These notes would later become the basis for Blake Lively's complaint, in which she states that Baldoni would talk about his own sex life and insert gratuitous scenes with Blake's character orgasming. As seen in the notes, these mentions come directly from the intimacy coordinator's notes. Yeah. Ideally, these conversations would have taken place directly between Lively and the intimacy coordinator, but as Baldoni requested. However, Lively declined to meet with the intimacy coordinator, leaving Justin Baldoni in the less than ideal position of having to relay the notes to Blake Lively personally. Studios require these intimacy meetings for all productions, shooting sex scenes specifically to make sure all the actors are comfortable and avoid sexual misconduct. But Blake Lively insisted in text screenshots to Justin Baldoni, oh, I'm perfectly comfortable. I don't really need to waste my time with that. So
never take their word for it.
Did she really think that these screenshots were just going to disintegrate into thin air?
She probably thought he just wouldn't fight back.
That's insane. That is an insane level of hubris. And there were other parts of this timeline that just showed how absolutely unhinged they have been in the midst of this legal battle. You sent me this one from January 7th, 2025. That's this year. Blake Lively attempts to serve Justin Baldoni and his team during the LA wildfires, going as far as to serve a member of Justin's team while they were attempting to evacuate their home with a small child.
Yep.
Sociopathy. Yep. And it's getting worse and worse from there. The most interesting thing about this and the fact that he has offered all of this information to the public rather than waiting for the trial to reveal it all is it shows that there's been a shift in hands for the flow of information, you know?
Meaning that the public is now as involved as anyone in how these things are dug up and then released to the public.
For better or for worse, right? Because that can obviously... There can be a whirlwind of information that just confuses people more.
That's a huge part of it for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, like for a lot of people in the chat are like, why are you still covering this? It probably all still kind of feels like it runs together and all of it feels the same. But I asked you beforehand, actually I wanted to ask you now. So I kind of made the joke before. I said, look, people pretend like covering this matters. And we've made the joke before, we've made the comment before that it's lower stakes than, say, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. But you insist you think that this does really, really matter. What is your, like, what do you mean by that? Like, what is the true meaning of something like this? Why does it matter?
The reason it's lower stakes is because there is no allegation of violence or, like, sexual violence.
But what's the greater meaning by what does it matter? For the people who might disagree, what would your argument be as to why this matters?
Because this is a marker that we are firmly in the post-MeToo era.
Okay.
And we are far past the point where anyone would be willing to hear Blake Lively's claims and immediately believe them. That era is definitively over. Yeah. And people have been wanting transparency. And Justin Baldoni and his legal team gave it to them. What they did with launching this website is something we've never seen happen ever before in any Me Too or Mean Too related case. And I wouldn't have predicted it, but he's clearly, there's been a shift of power from outlets like the New York Times, which have been clearly humiliated and brought to their knees. Yeah. And the power is now in the hands of TikTokers and people who disseminate this information on X. It's all on social media. And it's a symbiotic relationship because not only is Justin Baldoni helping the general audience for this case understand it with transparency, giving everyone all of the information, exposing absolutely everything on this website, but he's also going to the internet for information that he didn't even find. Yeah. He didn't even include the character of Nice Pool in his original filing. Yeah. He didn't even know about the metadata
or the thank yous and the credits and stuff like that.
To Gordon Reynolds.
That other people caught.
Yeah, he didn't even know that. People on the internet found that out. And then he didn't even find out about the New York Times colluding with Blake Lively until people on TikTok figured it out for him. So it's a symbiotic relationship that's never existed before. I didn't see even any of that type of thing going on when Johnny Depp was fighting Amber Heard legally.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like even that was more black and white. There was a time when Amber Heard had most of the sympathy, and then it just shifted overnight. But with this, it's been back and forth so many times.
I mean, I don't even think it went back and forth. I feel like early on before Christmas, or like right as the Christmas break for us started, is when the initial lawsuit or the initial claims came out. And then maybe for a little bit it stuck that way, but then it shifted very quickly. And it's been an avalanche going the other direction the whole time.
I've been seeing here and there, there's still a very small camp of people who sympathize with Blake Lively.
There's plenty of people in our chat that are on Blake's side.
Hey, if you're one of those people, I would like to hear your point of view. Like, I don't have personal loyalty to either side in this. I just think it's an interesting flashpoint in
I mean, it also became a point of discussion how, like, people from legacy media companies were shocked that conservative people were taking the side of a male feminist. I was like, that's because they don't actually care about, you know, who he is as a person. They care about the facts of this case. And the facts of this case support him and not the other person.
Right. It shows that those people are actually surprisingly unbiased.
Exactly.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.